The 2 weeks following the hearing brought changes to Harmony's Edge that rippled through every level of station life. The Academy implemented the new protocols quickly, eager to prevent future incidents and prove they could adapt. Every student was now required to attend Deathworld awareness classes. The first session was awkward. An instructor from a low-gravity species tried to explain high-gravity adaptations using diagrams that looked more like horror movie posters than educational materials. They showed human muscles as if they were weapons, human bones as if they were armor. Jiwoo sat in the back of the classroom, feeling dozens of eyes on her as the instructor pointed to her as an example. "Notice the human's compact build," the instructor said. "This is an adaptation to constant gravitational stress. Every movement requires more energy than we can imagine." "Excuse me," Jiwoo finally spoke up, unable to stay silent. "May I say something?" The instructor looked nervous but nodded. Jiwoo stood and walked to the front. "I know I seem different, maybe even scary after what happened. But I am just a person. Yes, I am stronger than many of you because of where I come from. But strength is not the same as violence. I do not want to hurt anyone. I just want to learn and make friends like everyone here." A student raised their hand, a small being covered in soft blue fur. "Is it true that on Earth children learn to fight?" "We learn to defend ourselves," Jiwoo corrected. "My world has dangers. Wild animals. Difficult terrain. Sometimes bad people. So we teach our children how to be safe. But we also teach them when not to fight. How to solve problems with words first. How to walk away from conflict." "But you did not walk away from Vextar," another student said. "I tried to. I ignored his insults for weeks. I avoided him. I stayed calm. But when he grabbed me, my body reacted automatically. That is something humans have, reflexes. We react to danger very fast, sometimes before we can think about it. I am learning to control that better, but it is not always easy." The class asked more questions. Some were silly, like whether humans really ate other animals. Yes, but also plants. Some were serious, like how to interact safely with humans without triggering defensive reflexes. Do not grab unexpectedly. Give personal space, communicate intentions clearly. By the end of the session, the atmosphere had shifted. Students seemed less afraid and more curious. These classes became routine over the following weeks. Each session brought new understanding. Instructors brought in experts on various Deathworld species, not just humans. The students learned about the galaxy's diversity in a deeper way than before. But the biggest changes happened outside the classroom. Jiwoo had expected isolation after the incident. Instead, she found herself at the center of an unexpected social shift. Students who had been bullied by Vexitar or others like him started approaching her in hallways, in the cafeteria, in the library. The first was Bomb, the small herbivore who had been pushed around multiple times. Bomb was barely half Jiwoo's height, with large eyes and a timid demeanor. "Excuse me, Jiwoo," Bomb said one day after class, voice trembling. "Could you teach me what you did? The defense move?" Jiwoo was surprised. "I'm not a teacher. I just know basic self-defense." "Please," Bomb insisted. "I have been pushed and shoved my whole time here. I have never been able to defend myself. Maybe if I knew how, even a little, I would feel safer." Jiwoo thought about this. "The move I used on Vextar would not work for you. Your body is different. Your strength is different. But maybe I could show you some principles? Things that work regardless of species." That evening, Jiwoo met with Bomb in a small practice room. Thal and Nira came too, curious and supportive. Jiwoo started with the basics. "Self-defense is not about being strong," she explained. "It is about leverage, balance, and using your advantages. Bomb, you are small and quick. That is an advantage. You can move faster than bigger species. You can fit into spaces they cannot." She showed Bomb how to break a grip by moving against the thumb, the weakest part of most species' grasp. She showed escape techniques that relied on speed rather than strength. She taught situational awareness, how to spot potential threats, how to position yourself safely in a room, how to project confidence even when afraid. "The goal is never to fight," Jiwoo emphasized. "The goal is to not be a victim, to have options, to feel like you have some control." Word spread. More students asked to join the sessions. Within a week, Jiwoo had a regular group of about 15 students from various species. Some were small and had been bullied. Others were simply curious about human techniques adapted to their own biology. Nira discovered she had natural flexibility that could be used defensively. Thal learned that his multiple arms gave him unexpected advantages in maintaining balance. Even Rook, the crystalline being, found ways to use his unique physiology for protection. The sessions became about more than just physical defense. They became about building confidence. Students who had felt powerless started walking taller. Those who had avoided certain areas of the station started reclaiming those spaces. Commander Tholran occasionally observed the sessions. Afterward, he would pull Jiwoo aside. "You have a gift for teaching," he said one day. "You make complex techniques understandable for different species. That is rare." "I just want to help," Jiwoo replied. "You are doing more than helping individuals. You are changing the culture here. Students are starting to understand that strength comes in many forms. That being vulnerable does not mean being helpless." The commander had also asked Jiwoo to help with security training. As promised, she met with his team regularly, explaining human psychology, response patterns, and how to de-escalate situations involving humans. When a human feels threatened, their body releases chemicals that prepare them for fight or flight, she explained to a room full of security officers. Heart rate increases, muscles tense, perception narrows to focus on the threat. We can seem calm on the outside but be ready to explode into action. How do we prevent that explosion? One officer asked. "Give space. Speak clearly and calmly. Do not make sudden movements. Show your hands. Explain what you are doing before you do it. Basically, reduce uncertainty. Humans fear what we do not understand." "That is true for most species," Tholran observed. "Yes," Jiwoo agreed. "But humans have more capacity to act on that fear quickly and forcefully. So the stakes are higher." The training sessions helped. Security officers who had been nervous around Jiwoo started greeting her in hallways. Some even asked questions about Earth, genuinely curious about her homeworld. Meanwhile, Jiwoo's friendship with Thal and Nira deepened. Thal's initial nervousness faded as he spent more time with her, and saw that she was not going to randomly attack him. He became fascinated by human evolution, constantly asking questions and taking notes. "Your species is a study in contradictions," he said one day, while they worked on homework together. "You are capable of tremendous violence but also incredible gentleness. You can run for hours but also sit still for meditation. You evolved as predators but feel empathy for your prey." "Humans are complicated," Jiwoo agreed, "but I think all species are once you really get to know them." Nira had started a new art project, paintings of different species interacting peacefully. Her work began appearing around the academy. Bright murals showing humans alongside Vreen, Aqualis with Kalth, all manner of beings living together harmoniously. "Art changes minds," Nira explained. "When people see these images every day, they start to believe they are possible." About 6 weeks after the incident, Jiwoo received an unexpected message. It was from Vexitar. Her heart raced as she opened it. She had not heard from him since that day. She knew he had been suspended and was back on his homeworld, recovering and taking mandatory courses. The message was short. "I have been thinking about what happened. I have been forced to attend classes about other species, about respecting differences, about my behavior. I am angry about my arm. It still hurts, but I am also starting to understand that I caused the situation. You defended yourself. I grabbed you first. I am not ready to apologize. I am not sure I ever will be, but I wanted you to know that I understand now. You are not the monster I made you out to be. I was the one acting like a monster." Jiwoo read the message 3 times. It was not an apology, but it was something. An acknowledgement. A step toward understanding. She did not respond. She was not ready for that yet, but she saved the message. That evening, her group met for their regular defense training session. But tonight was different. They had invited others to watch, a demonstration of what they had learned. About 50 students gathered in the practice room. Jiwoo felt nervous, aware that this could go wrong. But her friends were confident. Bomb went first, showing how a small, seemingly weak being could escape from a much larger opponent. The crowd murmured in surprise as Bomb slipped free from a mock attacker with quick, precise movements. Thal demonstrated using multiple arms for balance and leverage. Nira showed her flexibility as a defensive tool. Rook displayed how his crystal body could catch and redirect force. Then Jiwoo spoke to the crowd. "What we have learned is not about fighting. It is about not being afraid. Fear makes us victims. Fear makes us either aggressive like Vextar was or helpless like some of us felt. Fear is what caused today's problems. As Tholran left, Jiwoo looked around the library. The Galactic Council did not take the incident lightly. 2 days after the assembly, a special investigator arrived at Harmony's Edge. Her name was Dr. Myron, and she was unlike any being Jiwoo had met before. Dr. Myron appeared to be made of crystal, but not like Rook's reflective surfaces. Her body was translucent, revealing complex geometric patterns that shifted and moved inside her form. She came from Adamar, a world classified as Class 6 Deathworld. Not as extreme as Earth, but still far more hostile than most civilized worlds. I have been assigned to conduct a complete investigation, Dr. Myron said when she met with Jiwoo. Her voice sounded like wind chimes. The Council wants to understand exactly what happened and whether humans pose a danger to other species. I am not dangerous, Jiwoo said quietly. That remains to be seen. Dr. Myron replied, but her tone was not unkind. I come from a harsh world myself. I understand that survival shapes a species in ways that gentle worlders cannot comprehend. But I must be thorough. The future of human participation in the galactic community may depend on my findings. Over the next week, Dr. Myron conducted extensive tests. She scanned Jiwoo's body, measuring bone density, muscle composition, neural response time. She interviewed witnesses to the incident. She reviewed all available footage from multiple angles. She even brought in experts on comparative biology from across the galaxy. Jiwoo had to demonstrate various physical activities while machines measured her performance: running, jumping, lifting, climbing. Each test revealed the same truth. By galactic standards, humans were extraordinary. Your cardiovascular system is remarkable, Dr. Myron noted during one session. Your heart can maintain high-intensity activity for extended periods. Most species would collapse from exhaustion after 10 minutes of running. You can continue for hours. That is normal for humans, Jiwoo said. Yes, and that is precisely the issue. Your normal is exceptional everywhere else. Dr. Myron also interviewed other students. Thal described watching Jiwoo run for 45 minutes without stopping. Nira talked about seeing Jiwoo lift weights that would crush most species. Even students who barely knew Jiwoo provided observations about human capabilities. The investigator also looked into Vextar's recovery. The medical staff reported that his arm was healing, but slowly. The Kalth physiology had no evolutionary template for dealing with broken bones. Their bodies had to learn how to repair damage they were never designed to sustain. He is in considerable pain, the chief medical officer reported. We have given him medication, but his species processes it differently than expected. This injury will affect him for months, possibly years. Jiwoo felt guilt wash over her whenever she thought about Vextar. She had not meant to cause such lasting harm. But Dr. Myron's investigation also revealed other things. Security footage from the previous weeks showed Vextar's pattern of bullying, pushing a small Vreen student against a wall, using his tail to trip an Aqualis, deliberately knocking into others and then blaming them for being in his way. He targeted species he perceived as weak, Dr. Myron observed. This is behavior we see in individuals who use physical superiority to establish dominance. It is, ironically, quite primitive. She interviewed Vextar's victims. Many were reluctant to speak at first, afraid of retaliation, but slowly stories emerged. A pattern of intimidation that had gone on for nearly a year. Why did no one report this? Dr. Myron asked one student, a gentle herbivore who had been pushed by Vextar multiple times. Who would believe us? The student said softly. The Kalth have been in the council for centuries. We only joined 5 years ago. We are nobody. Dr. Myron's crystalline form seemed to harden. Everyone is somebody here. That is the entire purpose of the council. On the 5th day of investigation, Dr. Myron called a formal hearing. It was held in one of the Academy's large conference rooms. Present were Dean Kelsor, Commander Tholran, Ambassador Hyun-sik, representatives from the Kalth government, and a panel of council observers. Jiwoo sat at a table facing them all. She had never felt so small, despite knowing she was physically stronger than most beings in the room. Dr. Myron stood at the center, her crystal body catching the light and scattering it in rainbow patterns across the walls. I have completed my investigation, she began. I will now present my findings. A holographic display appeared showing complex charts and data. First, regarding the incident itself. The evidence is clear. Vextar initiated physical contact by tripping Jiwoo with his tail. He then grabbed her wrist and applied what he considered moderate pressure. For a Calth, this would have been uncomfortable. For a human, it barely registered as pressure at all. The display showed comparative grip strength data. Jiwoo responded with a defensive technique. On Earth, this technique is taught to children as young as 6 years old. It is considered non-lethal, non-damaging, and appropriate for self-defense. However, what works on a human does not translate to other species. The hologram showed a simulation of the technique applied to different species. On a human, it caused temporary discomfort and forced release. On a Calth, it resulted in a complete fracture of the radius bone. This brings me to my primary finding. Humans are physically incompatible with standard galactic interaction norms. Murmurs spread through the room. Let me be clear, Dr. Mirren continued. This is not a criticism. It is a statement of fact. Humans evolved under conditions that most species here cannot even survive. One standard gravity, which humans experience every moment of their lives, would crush the bones of 70% of council species. Earth's atmosphere has oxygen levels that would be toxic to 40% of species here. The planet's temperature swings would kill half the beings in this room. She turned to face the panel directly. Humans are not dangerous because they are violent or aggressive. They are dangerous because they are durable. A human acting with what they consider gentleness can inadvertently harm others. A human defending themselves with what they consider minimal force can cause catastrophic injury. Ambassador Hyun-sik stood. Dr. Myron, are you suggesting that humans should not participate in the galactic community? No, she said firmly. I am suggesting that the galactic community needs to understand what humans are. We have accepted hundreds of species into the Council. We have learned to accommodate methane breathers, radiation-dependent beings, and species that exist partially in other dimensions. We can learn to accommodate Deathworlders. She pulled up new data. My investigation also revealed that Jiwoo showed remarkable restraint. A human experiencing the adrenaline response she had can generate forces capable of causing severe damage. She could have struck Vextar. She could have thrown him. She could have done many things that would have resulted in far worse injuries. Instead, she used the minimum force necessary to free herself from his grip. The display showed Jiwoo's bioreadings from the incident. Heart rate elevated but controlled, adrenaline present but not at maximum levels, muscle tension showing restraint, not full exertion. Furthermore, Dr. Myron continued, my investigation uncovered a pattern of bullying by Vextar against smaller species. He used his physical advantages to intimidate others. This behavior was never reported because his victims feared they would not be believed or that reporting would make things worse. The Calth representatives shifted uncomfortably. Vextar made a critical error in judgment. He assumed that because Jiwoo appeared smaller and weaker than him, she was vulnerable. He did not understand that she came from a world where being small meant developing other advantages, speed, leverage, technique. These are how humans survived when facing creatures much larger than themselves. Dr. Myron's form seemed to glow brighter. My recommendation to the Council is as follows. First, Jiwoo acted in legitimate self-defense and should face no punishment. Second, Vextar should be suspended from the Academy for his pattern of bullying behavior. Third, mandatory education on Deathworld species should be implemented immediately. And fourth, we should develop new protocols for physical interaction that account for the extreme variation in species capabilities. Dean Kelsor spoke, his light form pulsing thoughtfully. These are significant recommendations, Dr. Myron. They will require substantial changes to our Academy policies. Yes, they will. But consider the alternative. If we do not adapt, we will continue to have incidents like this. Humans are already here. More will come. The galaxy is full of Deathworlds that have or will develop intelligent life. We must learn to integrate these species properly, not just hope that problems do not arise. One of the Council observers, a floating being surrounded by a field of energy, spoke up. Some might argue that Deathworld species should be restricted to certain areas, kept separate from more fragile beings. That would be discrimination, Ambassador Hyun-sik said sharply. My people did not join the Galactic Council to be segregated. It would also be impractical, Dr. Myron added. Deathworlders have capabilities that benefit the entire Council. They can operate in environments that would kill most species. They can perform physical tasks that others cannot. They bring unique perspectives shaped by survival on harsh worlds, segregating them well. The security office was small and cold. Jiwoo sat in a chair that was designed for a species with a different body shape, so it pressed uncomfortably against her back. Commander Thulran sat across from her, his forearms folded, his expression unreadable. "Tell me exactly what happened," he said. Jiwoo took a breath and told him everything. The weeks of insults, the comments, the confrontation today, Vextar's tail tripping her, his hand grabbing her wrist and squeezing. Her instinctive reaction. "I did not mean to hurt him that badly," she finished. "On Earth, that is a basic self-defense move. We learn it when we are children. It is supposed to just make someone let go." Thulran was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "I need you to understand something. In my 15 years of station security, I have never dealt with a broken bone before. Most species here come from low-gravity worlds. Their bones are light, flexible. They might crack under extreme pressure, but to actually snap one in half." He shook his head. "That does not happen." "I did not know," Jiwoo said quietly. "I just reacted. I believe you. But that does not change the fact that a student is in the medical bay right now, in tremendous pain, with an injury his species has no natural experience with." Over the next hours, different people came to question Jiwoo. Medical staff wanted to know exactly what technique she used. Academy administrators wanted to know if she had been trained in combat. Security wanted to review footage from the training complex cameras. The footage showed everything clearly. Vextar tripping her with his tail. Him grabbing her wrist. Her quick, efficient movement. The way he fell. The way his arm bent wrong. And most damning of all, her standing over him, asking his friends who wanted to be next. "That sounds like a threat," one administrator said. "A floating being covered in soft tendrils." "It was not meant that way," Jiwoo tried to explain. "I was scared. I thought his friends might attack me. On Earth, when you defend yourself, you make sure the threat is over. You show strength so others will not try." "This is not Earth," the administrator said coldly. Finally, after what felt like days but was only about 8 hours, Ambassador Hyunsik arrived. He was a tall man in his 50s with gray hair and kind eyes that looked tired. He had been Earth's representative to the Galactic Council since first contact. "Jiwoo," he said gently, "are you all right?" To her surprise, tears filled her eyes. She had been holding everything together, staying calm and professional. But seeing someone from home, hearing Korean spoken without a translator, it all broke through. "I messed up," she said. "I ruined everything." "Tell me what happened," he said, sitting beside her. She told him everything again. He listened without interrupting, his expression growing more serious as she spoke. When she finished, he sighed. "You defended yourself. On Earth, what you did would be considered restrained and appropriate. But this is not Earth," Jiwoo repeated what the administrator had said. "No, it is not," Hyunsik agreed. "But that does not mean you were wrong. It means the galaxy does not understand us yet." He stood up. "Wait here. I need to speak with the dean." He left, and Jiwoo was alone with her thoughts. She wondered if they would send her home. If this would end Earth's participation in the exchange program. If she had damaged humanity's relationship with the entire Galactic Council. Through the window, she could see Earth far below, a blue and white marble hanging in space. Home seemed very far away. Hyunsik returned 2 hours later. "You are not being charged with assault," he said. "The dean has ruled that you acted in self-defense. However, there will be consequences. You will need to attend mediation sessions with Vextar once he recovers. You will also be required to give educational presentations about human physiology and defensive instincts." "What about Vextar? Is he going to be okay?" "The medical staff has successfully set his arm. It will heal, though it will take time. They have never dealt with this kind of injury before, so they are learning as they go." Hyunsik paused. The investigation also revealed something interesting. Security reviewed other camera footage. Vextar has a history of physically intimidating smaller species, pushing, shoving, using his tail to trip others. No one reported it because they were afraid. Jiwoo thought about Nira's comment on the first day, about how most people were nice. Most, but not all. "So what happens now?" she asked. "Now the galaxy starts to understand what it means that humans are Deathworlders." The news spread across the station faster than light. Within a day, everyone knew about the incident. "The human broke a Kalth's arm. The human is dangerous. Stay away from the Deathworlder." Jiwoo noticed the change immediately when she returned to her quarters. Students in the hallways pressed themselves against the walls to let her pass. In the cafeteria, empty spaces appeared around wherever she sat. Even some of her classmates avoided eye contact. Thal and Nira still stayed by her side, loyal friends. But even Thal seemed nervous now, his antennae twitching whenever Jiwoo moved suddenly. "I am not going to hurt you," Jiwoo said quietly one day at lunch. "I know," Thal said quickly. "I know that. It is just I saw what you did. I saw how easy it was for you. And I cannot stop thinking that you could do that to anyone here. To me if you wanted, but I do not want to," Jiwoo said. "I would never hurt my friends." "I know," Thal repeated, but his antennae kept twitching. 3 days after the incident, the Academy called a special assembly. Dean Kelsor floated at the front of the massive hall, his light form pulsing gently. "We have experienced an unprecedented event," the dean said, his voice filling everyone's minds. "A student was seriously injured. This has forced us to confront an important truth. We are not all the same. Our differences are not just cultural or philosophical. They are physical, biological, fundamental." The dean turned to where a holographic display appeared. It showed a rotating model of a human skeleton. Humans come from a Class 9 death world. Until now, I do not think many of us truly understood what that means. Let me explain. The hologram changed, showing comparative data. Human bone density versus Kalth bone density. Human muscle composition versus Vreen muscle structure. Human reaction speeds versus Aqualis response times. A human child growing up on Earth experiences forces that would cripple most species here. Their bones develop density to withstand constant heavy gravity. Their muscles grow strong to fight that same gravity every moment of their lives. Their nervous system evolves to react to dangers that we cannot even imagine. The hologram showed Earth now, with its massive storms, its predators, its violent geology. Humans evolved as both predators and prey. They are omnivores who hunted and were hunted. They developed endurance that lets them chase prey for days. They developed the ability to throw objects with deadly accuracy. They developed social structures that required managing violence within their own groups. Jiwoo felt every eye in the hall on her. She wanted to disappear. "I am not telling you this to frighten you," the dean continued. "I am telling you this so you understand." When Jiwoo defended herself, she used a technique considered mild by human standards. She did not strike to injure. She used a simple release technique taught to human children. But what is mild for a human is catastrophic for a Kalth. The hologram changed again, showing the moment of the incident from the security footage. "Watch carefully. She does not punch. She does not kick. She simply twists and applies pressure. This is restraint. This is control. A human trying to hurt someone would look very different." The dean paused. "We have also discovered that the student who was injured has a history of physical intimidation. He targeted smaller, weaker species. He thought he was safe doing so because his victims were too afraid to report him. He made a critical error when he grabbed Jiwoo. He assumed she was weak like the others he had bullied." The assembly hall buzzed with whispered conversations. "Moving forward, we will implement new protocols," the dean announced. "All students will attend classes on Deathworld biology. We will have workshops on appropriate physical interaction between different species, and we will have zero tolerance for bullying of any kind." After the assembly, something shifted. Some students still avoided Jiwoo, but others approached her with new curiosity. A small herbivore species student named Bomb asked her if humans really could run for days without stopping. A silicon-based student wanted to know if it was true that humans could survive in extreme temperatures. That evening, Commander Tholran came to find Jiwoo in the library. "I have a request," he said without preamble. "I want you to help train my security staff." "Train them in what?" Jiwoo asked, confused. "In understanding humans. You are the first of your kind here, but you will not be the last. My team needs to know how to work with humans, how to predict human reactions, how to handle situations involving your species." He paused. "Also, I respect what you did. You showed restraint when you could have caused much more damage. That is the mark of a true warrior." "I am not a warrior," Jiwoo said. "On Earth, perhaps you are just a student. But here, by the standards of the galaxy, every human is a warrior simply by virtue of surviving childhood on your world." Tholran's expression was serious. "That is not an insult. That is recognition of strength." Jiwoo thought about this. "I will help if you think it will make things better." It will. Knowledge reduces fear. The first 3 weeks at the academy passed in a blur of classes and new experiences. Ji-woo studied xenobiology, learning about the incredible diversity of life in the galaxy. She took courses in galactic history, astronavigation, and diplomatic protocols. Every day brought something new and fascinating. She grew closer to Thal and Nira. The three of them formed an unlikely friendship. Thal was endlessly curious about everything, constantly asking questions and taking notes. Nira was artistic and thoughtful, often sketching the various species she observed. They studied together in the library, ate meals together in the cafeteria, and explored different sections of the massive station. But Vextar remained a constant problem. He never missed an opportunity to make comments about humans. In the hallways, he would loudly discuss Earth's primitive violence whenever Ji-woo passed. In shared classes, he questioned why a Deathworlder was allowed near civilized beings. His group of Kauth friends always laughed at his jokes, encouraging him. Ji-woo ignored it all. She focused on her studies, on making friends, on representing humanity well. Ambassador Hyunsik's words stayed with her. Patience and kindness. Then came the mandatory physical assessment class. All students had to take the course. It was designed to help the medical staff understand each species' physical capabilities and limitations. The class met in a huge training complex with adjustable gravity zones, various climbing structures, and open spaces for movement. The instructor was a four-armed being named Kolrin, from a heavy world species called the Zentari. Unlike most of the station's inhabitants, Kolrin actually came from a world with gravity similar to Earth's. He was all muscle and efficiency. His movements precise and powerful. Today we perform basic assessments, Kolrin announced. His voice was gruff but not unkind. Each species will demonstrate their natural abilities. This is not a competition. This is data collection for your safety. Students went up in groups organized by species. The Vreen, including Thal, demonstrated impressive precision and coordination with their multiple limbs. The Aqualis showed their incredible flexibility, able to bend in ways that looked impossible. A group of floating gas beings displayed their ability to change density and drift through the air. The Kauth went next. Vextar led his group, showing off their moderate strength and quick reflexes. They could lift about twice what a similar-sized human could manage, though their low-gravity evolution meant they were lighter than they appeared. Vextar made sure everyone was watching him flexing and posturing. And now the human, Kolrin called. Ji-woo, please step forward. Ji-woo walked to the assessment area. She could feel dozens of eyes on her. Whispers spread through the crowd. The Deathworlder. Let's see what she can do. We will start simple, Kolrin said. Lift this weight. He indicated a standard testing bar. Ji-woo picked it up easily. It felt light to her, probably because it was calibrated for species from lighter gravity worlds. Heavier, Kolrin said, adding more weight. Ji-woo lifted it again, and again, and again. By the fifth increase, some students were murmuring in surprise. The weight that now sat on the bar would be impossible for most species present. Ji-woo lifted it smoothly, her muscles barely straining. Years of living under Earth's gravity had made her far stronger than she appeared. Interesting, Kolrin said, making notes on his datapad. Now endurance test. Run around the track until you are tired. This was where humans truly excelled. On Earth, ancient humans had hunted by chasing prey for hours until the animals collapsed from exhaustion. That evolutionary history lived in Ji-woo's genes. She ran and ran, and ran. After 15 minutes, most of the watching students had lost interest and returned to their own activities. After 30 minutes, Kolrin was watching with frank amazement. After 45 minutes, Ji-woo finally slowed to a stop, breathing hard but not collapsed. Remarkable, Kolrin said quietly. Your species has extraordinary stamina. Thank you, instructor, Ji-woo said, catching her breath. As she walked back toward the sitting area where Thal and Nira waited, Vextar stepped into her path. But this time he was not alone. 3 of his Kauth friends flanked him, forming a wall. Very impressive, human, Vextar said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. You can lift heavy things and run in circles. Such advanced abilities. Please move, Vextar, Ji-woo said calmly. The assessment is over. I am simply amazed, Vextar continued, not moving, that the Council allows such a dangerous creature near us. Look at you. Built for violence. Designed by your brutal world to kill and destroy. You do not belong here. Other students had stopped to watch. Colrin was on the other side of the complex assessing another group too far away to hear. I belong here as much as anyone, Jiwoo said, keeping her voice level. Now please move. Vextar smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. Make me Deathworlder. Jiwoo started to walk around him. As she passed, Vexitar's tail whipped out, wrapping around her ankle. She stumbled forward, catching herself before she fell. The Kalth and his friends laughed. Jiwoo turned around slowly. That was not funny. Oh, I think it was, Vextar said. He reached out and grabbed her wrist, his clawed hand wrapping around it. He squeezed. Hard. On his low-gravity homeworld, this would have been painful pressure. A clear threat. A way to establish dominance without actually fighting. But Vextar did not understand Earth. He did not understand that human bones were dense, reinforced by living under constant heavy gravity. He did not understand that human pain tolerance had been shaped by a world full of dangers. He did not understand that grabbing a human's wrist triggered millions of years of evolved defensive responses. Jiwoo did not think. Her body simply reacted. She twisted her wrist in the specific way she had been taught in self-defense class back in Seoul. The movement was simple, efficient, designed to break a grip. Her other hand came up, found the pressure point on Vextar's elbow, and she stepped into the movement using her body weight and the principle of leverage. There was a sound like a dry branch snapping. Vexitar screamed. It was a high-pitched, terrible sound that cut through every conversation in the training complex. He fell to his knees, cradling his arm. His forearm bent at an angle that was definitely not natural. Jiwoo released him immediately and stepped back. Her heart was pounding. She had not meant to hurt him that badly. She had just reacted to being grabbed. The entire training complex went silent. Every student, every species stared at the scene. Vextar's friends backed away, their eyes wide with shock and fear. Colrin came running, his forearms pumping. What happened here? But before anyone could answer, Jiwoo looked at the other Kalth students. They were frozen, uncertain. One of them had been reaching toward her, maybe to help Vexitar, maybe to attack her, she could not tell. The adrenaline was pumping through her system now. That ancient human chemical response to danger. Her voice came out calm, cold, nothing like her usual friendly tone. Who's next? The Kalth student stumbled backward, falling over himself to get away from her. Thal's voice broke the silence, high and frightened. Jiwoo, what did you do? She looked down at Vextar, who was making small, whimpering sounds, still holding his broken arm. Horror washed over her as the adrenaline started to fade. She had broken his arm. Actually broken it. He grabbed me, she said, her voice shaking now. I just tried to get free. I did not mean to. Security to Training Complex 7, Colrin was saying into his communicator. Medical emergency. Student injured. Send immediate assistance. Within minutes, the medical team arrived. They carefully placed Vextar on a floating stretcher. He was in shock now, his eyes unfocused. The medics kept looking at Jiwoo with expressions she could not read. Fear, anger, confusion. Then security arrived. Commander Tholran, a massive Zentari with forearms and dark blue skin, approached Jiwoo directly. You will need to come with me, he said. His voice was neutral, professional. Am I under arrest? Jiwoo asked quietly. You are being detained for questioning. There has been an incident. We need to understand what happened. Jiwoo nodded. She looked at Thal and Nira, who stood together holding each other. Thal looked terrified. Nira's skin had gone pale. I am sorry, Jiwoo said to them, to everyone, to the galaxy itself. As security led her away, she could hear the whispers starting behind her. The human attacked Vextar. Did you see what she did? She broke his arm like it was nothing. Deathworlders are dangerous. I told you they should not be here. Jiwoo had been at the academy for less than a month. She had tried so hard to be a good ambassador for humanity, and now she had broken a fellow student's arm and threatened his friends. She thought of Ambassador Hyunsik's words about patience and kindness, and she wanted to cry. The massive space station hung in the darkness like a jewel made of metal and light. Jiwoo pressed her face against the transport ship's window, watching as Harmony's edge grew larger. Her heart pounded with excitement. This was it, her new home for the next 2 years. The station was enormous, bigger than any city she had seen on Earth. Thousands of ships moved around it like tiny insects. Lights blinked from millions of windows. Somewhere inside that huge structure, students from hundreds of different alien species were studying, living and learning together, and now she would be one of them. Jiwoo grabbed her bag as the transport ship docked. The doors opened with a hiss. She stepped into the station and immediately felt the difference. The gravity was lighter here, only about 80% of Earth's normal pull. Her steps felt bouncy, like she might float away if she jumped too hard. The arrival hall was chaos. Aliens everywhere. Jiwoo had studied dozens of species before coming here, but seeing them in person was completely different. A group of tall, thin beings with blue skin glided past her. Their movements were smooth and graceful. Nearby, something that looked like a walking crystal refracted light in rainbow patterns. In the corner, a creature covered in soft fur was arguing with a being made of what appeared to be living metal. "Excuse me, are you the human?" a voice asked. It sounded like clicks and chirps, but the translator implant in Jiwoo's ear converted it to perfect Korean. She turned and looked down. A small insectoid alien stood there, barely reaching her waist. Its body was covered in a hard green shell. Multiple arms held a data pad. Large compound eyes reflected her image hundreds of times. "Yes, I'm Jiwoo, from Earth," she said, speaking slowly. She was still getting used to the translator. "Excellent. I am Thal of the Vreen species. I have been assigned as your orientation guide." Thal's mandibles clicked happily. "Please follow me. I will show you to your quarters first." As they walked through the corridors, Thal explained the station's layout. The academy section was in the northern ring. Living quarters were mixed by year, not species, which meant Jiwoo would have neighbors from many different worlds. The idea both excited and terrified her. "You are our first human student," Thal said. "Many of us are very curious about your species. Earth is classified as a Class 9 death world. That is quite remarkable." Jiwoo had heard this before. Earth's classification as a death world confused her at first. Her planet seemed normal to her. But then she learned that most alien species came from gentler worlds. Worlds with lighter gravity, calmer weather, and fewer predators. Earth, with its violent storms, dangerous animals, and heavy gravity, was considered one of the most hostile planets in the galaxy to produce intelligent life. "I hope people aren't afraid of me because of that," Jiwoo said quietly. "Oh no. Well, perhaps some are nervous, but I am fascinated." Thal's antennae waved excitedly. "I study evolutionary biology. Your species survived conditions that would kill most of us. You must be incredibly resilient." They reached her quarters. The room was small but comfortable. The bed looked too soft for Jiwoo's preference, something she would need to adjust. A large window showed the stars outside. A desk with a holographic interface occupied one corner. "Rest today. Tomorrow orientation begins," Thal said. "I will come fetch you in the morning. Station time, of course." After Thal left, Jiwoo unpacked her few belongings. A photo of her family back in Seoul. Some books, actual paper ones, which apparently made her strange among species that had gone digital centuries ago. A small jade pendant her grandmother had given her for protection. She lay on the too-soft bed and stared at the ceiling. 3 years ago, humanity had discovered they were not alone in the universe. First contact had been peaceful, amazing. The Galactic Council had welcomed Earth, but carefully. Humans were still unknown, unpredictable. This exchange program was meant to help both sides understand each other. Jiwoo was one of only 50 humans accepted into galactic academies this year. She felt the weight of that responsibility. She represented her entire species here. The next morning, Thal arrived exactly on time. They went to the orientation hall together. Hundreds of students filled the massive room. Jiwoo noticed she was the only human present. Many eyes turned toward her. Some looked curious. Others looked uncertain. She sat near the back with Thal. Another student joined them, a being that looked almost like a large salamander with smooth, blue-green skin that glistened with moisture. "This is Nira from Aqualis," Thal introduced them. "Nira, this is Jiwoo, the human I told you about." "Hello," Nira said. Her voice was soft, musical. "I hope you will like it here. The station can be overwhelming at first." "Thank you. Everyone seems nice so far," Jiwoo said. "Most are," Nira replied, but something in her tone suggested not everyone. The orientation began. Dean Kelsor, a being that appeared to be made of pure light contained in a vaguely humanoid shape, floated at the front of the hall. The dean's voice resonated directly in Jiwoo's mind, bypassing the translator. "Welcome, students of the Galactic Council Academy. You come from 473 different worlds. You speak thousands of languages. You have different biologies, different cultures, different ways of thinking. But here you are all equals. Here you all learn together. The speech continued, outlining rules, expectations, and opportunities. Jiwoo tried to pay attention, but she kept noticing a group of students several rows ahead. They were reptilian with scaled skin and powerful tails. One of them, larger than the others, kept turning to stare at her. His eyes were cold, dismissive. "Those are Kalth," Thal whispered, noticing her attention. "From a low-gravity world. Their species has been in the Council for 2,000 years. Some of them are, well, traditional. They think newer species should wait their turn." The large Kalth turned fully around in his seat. He stared directly at Jiwoo, then said something to his companions. They all laughed. Jiwoo felt her face grow hot, but she kept her expression neutral. She had dealt with bullies before. The key was not to react. After orientation, students were dismissed to explore the campus. Jiwoo walked with Thal and Nira toward the cafeteria area. The large Kalth from earlier suddenly stepped into their path. "So this is the human," he said. His voice was deep, rumbling. "You look very fragile. Are all Deathworlders so small and weak?" "I am Vextar," he continued without waiting for an answer. "My family has served the Council for generations. Tell me, human, what makes Earth think it deserves a place among civilized species? Your world is barbaric, full of violence and chaos." Jiwoo took a slow breath. "I'm Jiwoo. Nice to meet you, Vextar. I'm here to learn, just like everyone else." "Learn?" Vextar laughed. "Your species still has wars. You still kill each other. You eat other living creatures. You are primitives playing at civilization." Thal stepped forward, surprisingly brave for someone so small. "That is enough, Vextar. We are all students here. Show respect." Vextar looked down at Thal like he was an annoying insect. "Stay out of this, Vreen. This does not concern you." Nira pulled gently at Jiwoo's sleeve. "Come, let us go elsewhere." Jiwoo wanted to argue, to defend her species and her world. But she remembered what Ambassador Hyunsik had told all the human exchange students before they left Earth. "You are ambassadors now. How you act reflects on all of humanity. Be patient, be kind. Show them who we really are." So Jiwoo simply nodded to Vexatar and walked away with her new friends, but she could feel his eyes on her back, cold and hostile. And she heard him say to his companions, "Deathworlders, they do not belong here." The first day of classes would begin tomorrow. Jiwoo hoped things would get better. But something told her this was only the beginning.